Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Tonight, we're going to do a one-shot scenario entitled Family Reunion. It was written by Matt Ryan and Noah Lloyd, and it's from their online collection of one-page scenarios. A link to their site, Reckoning of the Dead, can be found in the description below. I will be the GM for this episode. So, without further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. The Uxbridge family is a fairly large, fairly wealthy family from New York and the surrounding states. They aren't particularly close-knit, but they do keep in touch. The family name is held in high regard amongst the upper classes, though they tend to avoid most social situations. They're not particularly charitable either. It's the summer of 1923. Uncle Edwin Uxbridge is considered by most of the family to be an eccentric. He's very wealthy and has many assets. In his younger days, he did a lot of traveling, and his interests were considered by most of the family to be rather peculiar. But for many, many years now, he has been secluded in his mansion near Albany, New York. Mostly, everyone is waiting for him to kick the bucket so that they can get their hands on his estate. A couple of months ago, you received an invitation from Uncle Edwin. He's organizing a family reunion to be held at Devlin's Cove on Lake Pierce in upstate New York, not far from Albany. He's hinted that he will be announcing his legacy and that it's necessary for all of the Uxbridges to gather for the event. The date is set for June 5th, and it will begin at 10 a.m. and continue into the evening. Sumptuous refreshments will be provided. Lake Pierce is located in upstate New York. It's set in a depression. The lake is about 2 miles long and over a mile wide. The area is heavily wooded. Devlin's Cove is at the northmost tip of the lake. It's closed off to outside intrusion by cliffs. It's a popular destination for summer recreation. However, today, the Uxbridges have made arrangements that they have exclusive access to the area during the reunion. When you arrive, you park your cars above the cove on the cliff. Then you follow the winding path down the cliff and into the depression. The cove itself is about 700 feet long and 400 feet wide. Lake Pierce borders it on the south. There is a narrow sandy beach at the waterfront. There are smooth boulders to climb on for the kids and picnic tables under the trees. The water near the shore is perfect for swimming, and the beaches are great for laying out and catching some sun. Except for the worn paths, the hilly ground is covered in thick, soft grass. Pets are welcome. There are tents set up with food and refreshments. We're expecting about 200 people. You can see up at the top of the map is the parking area. There's a little access path coming down the cliff and emptying out. Those sort of bumps are hills, about 10 or 15 feet high, just grassy hills. There's trees, there's rocks. And as I said, a sandy beach.
Roughly how many people are actually turning up for this family reunion?
Probably about 200.
Wow, okay.
Lots of cousins.
Those tents, are they about 10-foot square or so?
Oh, they're bigger than that. They're, like if you've ever gone to a big old wedding.
Oh, okay.
So they've got tables. They've, of course, got servants, behind the tables, helping dish out food if you want it. And the food is, of course, upper class. It's good stuff. It's a catered event. There's also probably porta potties or something nearby, but I didn't put those in because I didn't think of it at the time. And of course, as you're arriving, lots of other people have arrived. Kids are there. People are already by 10 a.m. is when the whole thing is supposed to start, but people arrive a little while earlier, and some people have gone down to the beach and they've laid out towels and they're laying in the sun because it's a very nice, bright, sunny day. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's just perfect. So as you guys are sort of getting your stuff together and getting yourself down to where the refreshments are and the picnic tables, and picnic tables are everywhere. You all see one another.
Oh, Delilah, this food smells terrific. Hey, look, I think that's that's Edwin and Ruth right over there. Oh man, they brought Madeline with them. Edwin.
Me, Edwin, or Uncle Edwin?
You, Edwin.
Me, Edwin. I don't know Dolores. I've had my mom with me. It's been a long, dusty trip up from New Rochelle. I picked Mom up closer to Devlin's Cove, and I think we should seek out some lemonade, light refreshment. How are you? How was your trip up?
Oh, things went really well. We were only about maybe an hour drive out to get out here. It was just kind of a slow morning for us all getting out of town. But looks like it's going to be a fun day, though. It's just a really nice spread Edwin's got out. And have you seen him around yet?
I haven't. I assume he's sequestered in one of the big tents to be wheeled out at an appropriately dramatic moment.
Yeah. And Cornelius, when he gets actually close to you, he shakes your hand and says, got any big surprises for today? Kind of says it under his breath.
I think that the surprises are going to be more on us than coming from us, but who knows?
Okay.
Just to clarify, too, Uncle Edwin is not in a wheelchair. He's actually oddly spry for his age. He's just doesn't like people much.
No, man. What? Ruth, is today the day?
So does Uncle Edwin can anybody actually see him anywhere at this event, or is he not sort of making himself readily apparent? Or
at the moment you don't see him, but there's enough other people, and the area is, imagine that this place is, like 4 football fields wide. I say American football fields. I don't know how big a soccer field is.
It's big.
Yeah, it's a big area.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll show up.
Okay. At the moment, Phineas and his wife are just sort of scanning the crowd as much as possible. The possibility of trying to...
And Beatrice is just sitting on a bench with her boyfriend talking to him and smoking a cigarette.
A 14-year-old smoking a cigarette. Okay, it is 1920s.
And I don't think she'd care if it wasn't.
Okay.
A lot of other people are around you. You're seeing lots of people that you haven't seen in a while. There's Jimmy and there's Lois and your cousin
Clark.
Leo. Your cousin Leo comes up from Albany, and he's like, "Have any of you seen Bradley around? He still owes me $100."
I haven't seen Bradley.
Well, if you see Bradley, you tell him that I'm looking for him, because I'm not going to let him off that debt that he owes me.
Yeah, we'll take it easy on him today. It's supposed to be a fun day.
Fun day, hell. We just want to find out what the old man's going to leave us all.
Oh.
I don't think we have to be that cynical about it, and there's plenty to go around after all.
Well, you're his brother. What's the deal?
I don't know. I haven't really talked to him too much over the last few months. He's always kind of kept to himself, and I don't know. Last time I saw him, he was actually in pretty good health. I have no reason to believe he's going anywhere anytime soon. But he's got his ways about him. So maybe this is just his way of. Maybe he wants to make kind of a morbid show of it. I'm not sure.
We're going to enjoy ourselves while we're here. We're going to probably go down to the beach. Brady's down by the beach now, sunning herself. But have any of you seen Uncle Edwin walking around?
Hide no
I haven't
hair.
seen him yet. Yeah.
Not yet.
All right. So you see a lot of people wandering around. People are having fun. Children are playing. As I said, the area is quite luxurious. There's grass everywhere. People have brought their dogs. They're playing fetch. They're laying out. And right about 10:30 or so, why don't you guys do a spot hidden? See who gets the best score.
Nope, fail here.
Not mine.
37.
Okay. Does anybody get better than that?
No, I definitely got
No,
a
I-
78.
Okay. So Cornelius is sitting there, and he looks over and he sees Uncle Edwin sort of walking around, saying hello to people. His demeanor is kind of what you've come to expect. Uncle Edwin definitely thinks that he's superior to everyone, probably because when he was younger, his direct family treated him like the black sheep of the family. So now that he is by far the wealthiest of all the members of the family, he's got a little bit of a condescending attitude. And he says, you hear offhandedly, he'll say things to people that at first seem very friendly and then are a little bit insulting. But he does it with a big smile. So half the people don't realize that he's being sarcastic or, nasty.
How's he dressed today?
Just dressed in his regular suit. What he's wearing a hat because the sun is pretty hot today. But
So it's June in New York, and it'd still be fairly cool out, I imagine. I mean, moderately warm, 70s, 80s.
it's 70s. It's actually quite comfortable today.
Yeah. I imagine a lot of us men are in seersucker in 1923.
Mm-hmm. And of course, he's pale because he doesn't usually come out of the house much. But he seems he's not having trouble walking or anything like that. He's elderly, but he's not using a cane or anything.
Well,
And about that time, he starts to drift over in your direction.
okay. And
As
I just
he
say to the
approaches,
family, hey, look, guys, it's your Uncle Edwin. And I stand up to greet him.
As he approaches, she puts the cigarette, flicks it behind her back.
He's like, "Oh, don't stand up! Don't stand up! I see you all made it.
Yeah, it's good to see you, brother.
Was the trip okay?"
Always.
My trip was very pleasant, Uncle, and you seem to have put on a wonderful spread. Thank you. Allow me to introduce my coworker Ruth, and of course, my mother Madeline. Happy to see you.
Ruth. What's your last name, Ruth?
Barton?
Babbage, wasn't it?
Yes, Babbage.
Babbage. Any relation to the Syracuse Babbages?
Ruth does not believe so. Her family comes from the coast originally.
I see.
Boston, Cape Cod.
And if you don't mind me asking, who's the little girl? Beatrix doesn't know you.
Grandpa, it's me, Beatrix.
I'm your grandpa. That's surprising. Never would have thought that Frederick would have managed to get laid.
Oh my. This is my boyfriend Roger, by the way. I hope it's okay that he's here.
And Roger, what's your last name?
Buckley.
Buckley. That doesn't sound familiar at all. What's your family connection?
Well, my dad is a mechanic in town.
I see. Well, that could be useful. Are you all enjoying yourselves?
It's a beautiful day. Everything you've arranged very nicely, as always.
Well, I've been planning this for some time now. The big surprise comes later on. So enjoy yourselves, make yourselves at home, make sure you get to know everybody, and I have other guests to attend to.
Uncle Edwin. Hello, it's me, Phineas.
Phineas, the pharmacist?
Yes. You know my father, of course. We've been doing okay. How are you at the moment?
I'm doing just fine, thank you. I, of course, don't have to rely on your services very much. I don't take any pills.
Well, I mean, we can help you with sort of other things if necessary. Please allow me to introduce my wife, Helen, as well. Helen, this is my Uncle Edwin.
Nice to meet you. And is your Aunt Gertrude there too?
She's on the prowl. She's on the prowl.
Yes, well, Helen, following the same trend, your family, do you come from a long line of airplane mechanics, or what can we say about you?
By the way, Helen is a very quiet person as well. She will go bright red at this stage and just sort of smile weakly.
Come on now, speak up. You're here with family.
Oh, my father was a tailor. My father was a tailor.
A tailor. I like clothes.
Oh, that's very nice. She smiles weakly and is trying to avoid any sort of eye contact with him at all, and looking to try and get out of the conversation as quickly as possible.
Without clothes, we would all be walking around here naked.
And that's done it for Helen. She's just sort of disappearing now as quickly as possible.
And that's when my mother Madeline's going to get a hold of Edwin before he escapes and say she's very, very sorry that Hiram couldn't make it. He's been so ill these last few years, and these last few months in particular. He wanted me to send you his greatest regrets.
Is he still using that excuse to not show up for these sorts of things? Well, I can't say that I blame him. Consider him a lucky man.
I'm not sure I understand, Uncle Edwin.
It's not important. Anyways, have a nice day, everyone. And I will see you around.
Bye, Grandpa. We'll see you soon.
And he sort of walks away. You see him talk to some other people, and then he sort of disappears into the crowds of people.
Philmont waits till he gets out of earshot, and he goes, "For fuck's sake, does that guy get any stranger? Who wants a drink?" And he busts out a big jar of some clear fluid.
I don't know. I think it's kind of nice.
There is alcohol in the refreshment thing. I mean, rich people don't have to worry about prohibition.
Yeah, he's still doing his thing. So he's that guy that would bring alcohol to a party just to see how screwed up he could get everybody at the party, regardless of if there's already a keg in the room. So
I wouldn't touch liquor in front of my dear friend Ruth and my mother, but later I'll meet you in the tent for a snort. I have to say, I didn't like the way the old man said he had a big surprise for us later. Didn't that seem a little sinister even for him?
Yes, from what I remember about him, yeah, very odd indeed.
maybe he'll have some sort of dramatics with, a play or something down by the waterfront. He's always had a weird flair about him.
It's a good spot for fireworks, but I think they'd be setting those up already.
It's early.
Yeah, it's about 10:30 in the morning.
Well, if it's a big display, something worthy of Uncle Edwin, there'd be a lot of setup. Maybe they're on a boat around the corner from the cove.
Oh, I've seen that once. It's beautiful when they take them out on those flat boats and launch from the water. You can see the reflections of the bright lights.
While they're talking, Beatrice is trying to sneak a little bit of alcohol.
Okay.
Phineas, does Phineas notice that by any chance?
She's not really trying to hide it. She's just using the opportunity.
Ah, right. Okay. Beatrice, should you really be doing that? Think about your father.
Oh, you're one to talk.
What? What
She
did
just
you
goes
just
about
say,
to
young
drinking.
lady?
Mom, what do you say we walk down along the shore for a little while? It's a beautiful day.
How is
Okay.
your father
The
anyway?
situation has
Beatrice?
gotten too awkward for
Is
me.
he still here at the moment?
Is my father here? I'm sure he's around here somewhere.
Would you care to take me to him?
I suppose. She'll start walking towards him.
Okay. So you guys are heading towards Frederick, Beatrice's father. I'm sorry, who said that we're going to go down to the beach and walk? That was
I'm going to take my mother and Ruth down to the water.
Okay.
I'll reach out for Delilah and ask her if she'd like to go, and she wouldn't. So I'll just go on my own and kind of follow behind the three of them.
Okay. Well, as you're walking along, I'll do the beach first. As you guys are walking along the beach, there's kids splashing in the water. There's a few people lying out. They brought their bathing suits. They're lying on their towels. And as you're walking along, you're just about to the center of the beach where the big rocks are. And one of the little kids comes running up to you. Let's say he comes up to Cornelius. Uncle Cornelius, look at what I found. And he holds up an animal skull.
Oh, hey, buddy.
It looks like, at first glance, like maybe a rabbit. Like a rabbit's skull.
Natural world to try to confirm that?
Sure.
No. Okay. So I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
but it's got the buck teeth in the front, and it's shaped like a rabbit's head.
Is there much meat on it, or is it very
There's
much a skull?
It's white. It's clean.
Is this little Daniel?
Okay, yeah.
Hey, Daniel. Wow, this is probably a rabbit skull. Did you find any more of it, or just the skull?
He says there's a whole bunch of bones over here.
The rest of the bones of this one animal, or more animals?
Well, let me show you. And he takes you. He goes over by where the rocks are.
Yeah. Hang in there. Let me follow you.
And
Madeline's like saying, you shouldn't touch these things. They're filthy.
It looks like it's been picked clean a long time now.
there's at least 4 or 5 animals there. Looks like 3 of them are rabbits, but one of them might in fact be a dog skull. The others are just mixtures of bones, and they're all kind of in the same place, like a nest.
Well, perhaps this larger animal here was eating the smaller ones and happened to pass during the wintertime. That's why all the bones are clean now.
Are these on the sand or the grass between the boulders?
Yeah, they're kind of in the grass and the sand. There's a mixture of grass and sand.
Yeah.
The odd thing is they seem to be completely picked clean, and the bones are very, very clean, very white. Do Fred, why don't you do a natural world again?
My score is actually base, so it's not very good. I'll try it again. No, definitely not.
Okay. There's something that strikes you odd, but you're not quite sure what about this pile of bones.
Does the larger animal have sharp teeth like a carnivore?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I just kind of is there a stick or something
sure.
longer nearby? I just kind of poke around,
Stick.
just to see if there's anything else in there. Like, oh, it's really picked clean, but
Well, Phineas, why don't you do a spot or do a spot hidden? That sounds good. That's David.
Oh, Edwin?
Oh, I'm
said
sorry.
Phineas.
You're Edwin.
Sorry.
Edwin, do I'm sorry, I'm getting the Davids mixed up.
Sorry, two Davids. Yeah.
David, yeah, do a spot hidden because you're standing there.
43, 25. No, sorry.
Okay. It just looks ew, animal bones.
Yeah, I think Ruth is more interested than Edwin is.
Well, let me roll for Ruth. Oh, that's a good score. Ruth says, but where is the hair? There doesn't seem to be any bit of hair or flesh of any kind, just bones, like from a museum display.
I mean, those are some of the first things that get carried off. I'm surprised that there's even bones here, because normally the mice or rats would just take the bones and rip them apart too, eat the calcium out of them.
No, I saw a raccoon that got froze in an attic years ago, and it was nothing but bones and hair, but all the hair was there in big chunks, ratty and nasty. But that wasn't on the water.
Let me jump back to the others. Let's see. Phineas, what were you doing?
We were looking for Frederick, Beatrice's father.
Oh, that's right. Phineas, you and Beatrice are looking for Frederick's father. You finally find him. He's loading up on the spiked punch. He is not exactly a happy person. So,
Hey, Dad.
what are you doing here? I thought you were going to go run around and do stuff with your boyfriend.
I was, and Uncle Phineas here decided that he wanted to stick his nose in and wants to talk to you.
Hey, Phineas, what's up?
Hiya, Fred. How you doing these days?
Same old, same old.
How's Frederick looking? Is he already looking like he's had a few too many to drink, or?
A little bit. Yeah.
So, Fred, what do you reckon about this whole shindig here? What do you think Uncle Edwin's got planned?
Well, I think that he's probably going to kick the bucket soon, and he just wants to tell us what he's not going to give us all. He'll probably leave it all to some cat or something like that.
Or me.
Just laugh in our faces.
No, surely not. I mean, he's got such a vast estate. Surely.
There's a lot more people here that are closer to him than I am. So, quite honestly, if you'll pardon my French, I don't give a shit. But there's free food and free booze, so I'm here.
Where has Uncle Edwin gone at the moment?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry, that was more directed to you, Tom.
Oh, you don't know.
No, okay.
You've all kind of lost sight of him. He's somewhere out there.
Fred, do you know that Beatrice is still drinking and smoking?
Beatrice, you're not supposed to be drinking.
I'm sorry, Dad. I won't do it again.
That's what she always says. She thinks that it's going to end there, but I can't watch her all the time. I'm not going to follow. If I, since her, I'm going to make an assumption here. Since her mother died, she's kind of the lady of the house. She does all the cooking. So if she wants to relax a little today, what am I going to do? Stop her?
It's a hard day with Edwin going to die soon. It's so emotionally draining. I don't know what else I would do.
Oh, jeez. Don't pretend like you like your grandfather.
I love Grandpa Ed.
Yeah. Because he what? Gives you stuff? He doesn't give you anything. He's never given you
remember me
anything.
today. I think he's having memory problems.
Whatever. So why don't you get lost? Go have fun with your boyfriend. Do whatever. Just don't get pregnant.
He doesn't even have to finish that sentence, and she's taking off towards her bench again.
So how you doing, Phineas? Did you bring Helen?
Yeah, Helen's here at the moment. Say hello, Helen. Helen sort of peeks around the back of Phineas and
Oh, hey, Helen.
Smile.
How you doing?
he says, "Oh, fine, thank you very much. Things could be better." And then she,
Of course they could. You could be with me instead of with him.
hey, Fred, enough of that, please.
I'm
Come on.
sorry. I already started drinking. I started drinking before I even got here. So, it hadn't been easy, but what can you do? This whole whole family kind of sucks just a little bit.
Yeah, well, family's supposed to pull together, Fred. I mean, times are pretty hard for some of us these days, and some of us could really use some help. Who do you reckon around here is sort of well in with Uncle Edwin?
Uncle Edwin? Jeez. I don't know. Uncle Edwin's, who knows what that? Nobody knows Uncle Edwin that well. I mean, I suppose his brother.
His brother?
Brother probably knows him the best of all, but
Which one was that again? I forget.
Cornelius.
Cornelius. Oh, sorry, Cornelius.
Is it Cornelius?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? I don't even think they're that close. Like I say, I find this whole thing kind of ridiculous. An old man throws a big party for us all. I'm just going to get drunk.
Well, you take care of yourself, Fred, okay? Like you pretty much always have.
Okay. So,
Okay.
we'll go back to the other group. What are you guys doing?
I think Ruth will say something like, "A lot of your, you're not the only educated member of your family. Do you have a cousin somewhere who specializes in biology? There's enough people here."
I reckon I reckon we've got several members of the family that would know
Sure.
about something like this, even if it's hunting,
We'll say cousin Norman is a biologist. And you see him over there with his girlfriend.
Is he within shouting distance?
Yeah, probably.
Norman! Hey, Norman! Come over here!
Who is that? Cornelius? All right.
Yeah.
What's up? What's up?
Yeah. Norman, check this out. Little Daniel here, he found all these skulls and bones, and man, they are picked clean. What do you think of that?
What the? Well, that's odd, isn't it?
What do you think the big one is?
Oh, that's probably
Is
a
that a
dog.
raccoon?
Maybe a coyote, or well, let me look. And he picks up the skull and he's looking at it. He says, "Yeah, it's got the general shape of like maybe a German Shepherd. It's hard to tell. It wasn't very old. The teeth are kind of in fairly good condition. I'd say probably no more than a 5-year-old dog.
So probably a domestic dog?
And all these rabbits here.
Well, my guess was whatever this big thing was bedding down here and eating the little things.
Well, maybe, but it wasn't too long ago, according to what I'm looking at. These bones aren't weathered that much.
Oh.
Are there teeth marks on the rabbit bones?
I don't.
Or did they all just get killed by something else?
Well, he starts to
something.
look at him, and he says it's kind of odd that there aren't really any gnaw marks, like teeth marks or anything. You would expect like rats or something like that to be gnawing at these bones.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no gnaw marks, and he's looking at the skull and he's turning it over, and he says, but there's some strange looking sort of striations in the bone, as if something were used like a wool pad to scour the bone clean. It looks really weird. I've never seen anything like that. Like maybe he's just sort of running through his mind what could possibly be, and he's like snails or some sort of sea creature that had sort of a rasp instead of a jaw that would clean the bone off. But
so you don't think like a raccoon could have done this if it was washing it off? That's not that kind of washing then.
No, a raccoon would have dipped the meat in the water and eaten it, but you'd also find raccoon spoor all over the place, especially up on the rocks. Raccoons tend to poop right on top of rocks. That's how you know there's raccoons around.
What if are there like bobcats up here? Cats have raspy tongues.
I don't know. Cats are kind of secluded. They're not going to leave this little pile of bones right out here in the open like this. It's strange. I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, you hear from up the beach and on kind of the side of a little grassy hill, you hear Aunt Phyllis. And Aunt Phyllis is, she called out at first, and now she's sort of screeching the way that she does. And she's lying on a towel, but she seems to be struggling to get up. But you can't quite see. You see a few people going over to her and kneeling down and trying to help her. But it's getting people's attention.
I'll walk over that way.
I'll trot over that way.
Okay. Somehow, Aunt Phyllis's hair has gotten tangled in the grass. The grass is kind of a tough grass. It's a little bit like sedge grass. It's got serrated edges, and her hair's gotten all wound into the thing. And as she's pulling, it's pulling her hair, so she's kind of screeching. But a couple other members of the family are trying to carefully pull her hair out and untangle it from the grass that she was laying on. Let's see. Edwin, you also hear this because it's not too far from where you are. So you've drifted back. You drifted over to see.
Sure. I'd like to help out just cutting through the grass with a pocket knife. And then we could pull it out strand by strand.
Yeah, you help do that. And you're surprised that the grass has actually managed to pull a few chunks of hair out of her head. So that's why she's screeching. It's very strange, but you figure that the serrated edges on the grass just sort of got wound around her hair, and the root system is pretty tough. You can't seem to pull the grass out of the ground, but you cut it fairly well.
I think I'd send Ruth to get Phyllis some kind of refreshment, maybe some lemonade with a little bit of something in it, because her nerves are going to be shot after that.
Yeah.
You need to clean up the bare patches too.
Right. They're not terrible, but she's ouch. Maybe they're going to get some ice, sort of soothe the pain. So it's about 11 o'clock.
Is all the yelling and shouting noticeable to everybody, or only a small part of the beach?
The ones who are right near her, yeah.
Right.
Of course, other people probably stuck their heads up to see who is screeching, but they figured, somebody else will take care of it. And so it's now about 11 o'clock, and everybody is back to what they're doing. The rumor starts to go around that Uncle Edwin says that the surprise is set for 6 o'clock that evening. So he wants to make sure everybody is eating their food and drinking their drunks, or drunken their drinks. Is drunken a word?
Is there a podium or anything around that looks like it could be a place that he's going to make a speech from?
Not really, but if he were to stand up on those rocks in the middle, people could gather around and they'd see him. The rocks are easy enough to climb on.
What is my dad doing? Where's he at?
He's wandered off towards the tree line with cousin Barbara, and they're sort of chatting with one another, and he's always kind of had the hots for Aunt Barbara, but he's kind of had the hots for every female, even before your mother passed away.
Of course. All right, well, I'm going to head over towards those rocks, kind of so I can still see him as well.
Okay.
I think Mother Madeline's going to go off and just basically try to stalk Edwin in hopes of getting his ear again as many times as she can. So we, Ruth and I go off to feed and lemonade ourselves in it. Maybe one of those picnic tables up on the mound with the trees. Seems like a nice vista.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're all wandering around. You've picked your spots. You're all fairly close to one another, but you're enjoying your own private time with your boyfriend, with your girlfriend, with your wife. Some of you are watching some of the kids playing in the grass. They're playing with their dog, and they're kind of playing a game of tag. They've created like a perimeter. You have to stay within the perimeter, and they're running around, and one of them is it, and the dog is leaping around and jumping where they are. And then all of a sudden, it's almost as if somebody hit a switch, and all of the kids trip and fall and go down at the same time, including the dog. They go flat on the ground, and the laughing instantly stops, and a couple of the kids jump up, and they start crying for their parents. You notice that they've got grass stains all over them from where they landed in the grass. If the girls are wearing dresses, they've got grass stains all over them. And the boys likewise seem to have a lot of green stains from the grass. But the kids become kind of hysterical because and you start to notice that a couple of them look like they've skinned their knees. They've got, red patches where the skin is bad. And of course, their parents come immediately. What's wrong? The parents don't seem too concerned because kids get hurt like this all the time.
Did the dog get up?
The dog is lying in the grass and it's struggling to get up, but it doesn't seem to be able to, like it's been pinned or it's injured in some way. And you hear it start to yip and whimper.
Yeah, I'll make my way over to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna also make my way over to the dog as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Phineas is also going to go over there and see if he can help a bit with his first aid skills and that.
Okay. When you go over, the dog's tail is wagging because it sees you and it knows that you are people. But when you try to lift the dog, it's once again, it's almost as if the grass has tangled itself in the dog's hair. And when you actually forcefully lift the dog up, there are numerous small lacerations on the underside of the dog. Once again, as if the sedge grass, the little barbs on it had grabbed into the dog and hurt it. So the dog is happy that you've pulled it off, but the dog is kind of bloody on the one side. I'd like you to do a sanity roll if you're witnessing this.
Yeah. Is there anything else in the grass? Like, is there little shards of glass or something?
No,
Yep.
nothing.
That's it.
I
Pass.
succeeded.
I have failed.
Okay. If you succeeded, nothing. But if you failed, do a 1d2. So roll a 6-sided divide. To give yourself a 50-50 chance for
2
1 or
sanity.
2 points. Yeah, it's freaked you out.
What is going on here?
I don't.
Go ahead.
Phineas is going to look at a couple of the children. Have they got the similar sort of things, or just?
Yeah, they
knees and
seem to be
everything?
kind of scratched on their legs and their knees and their arms where they landed in the grass.
Is this somewhat near the picnic table area or no?
Oh, it's kind of between there's picnics everywhere. It's not too far from the rocks, not too far from the beach.
She's going to kind of clamber up onto a rock, staring at the ground.
Our cousin, the one that's the biologist, is he still around?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like to get him and ask him what he thinks about this. I'm going to show it to him. Be like, look, the kids just barely fell and they got cut. The dog got tangled, and our cousin. I mean, look what happened to her hair.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. He says, let's look at this more closely. And at first glance, the grass just seems normal. It's just grass, He puts his hand down in the grass and waves his hand around. And he says, well, it's a little rough. Ow! Like this. And he pulls his hand out, and there are definitely some small lacerations on his hand. And he says, I don't know what it's just, a lot of grass has a really sharp edge. Maybe this is not so nice for the kids to play on. They need to be careful. Beatrice, you climbed up on the rock. Go ahead and do a spot hidden for me.
Alrighty. Wow, I actually did really well. I rolled a 2 out of 35, so I got a
excellent
success.
So, Beatrice, as you're standing there, sort of observing everyone up off on the rock, sort of on a vantage point, looking down, you notice that it's something that you've seen a million times before. The way grass ripples, in the wind as the wind blows across it. It's actually kind of pretty, and you can see that it's rippling all along all around you. The grass is kind of rippling, except that there is no wind.
Oh no. Okay. She's going to try to. Is her boyfriend with her still?
Yeah, he's nearby. He's climbed up onto the rock with you.
Yeah. She's gonna actually shout for her dad to get off the grass, hoping he can hear her from the tree.
He's completely ignoring you.
Okay.
He's
And
with
she looks at everyone around and says, "Get off the grass! Get off the grass!
What's the problem, Beatrice?
Get off the grass!"
What?
I'll
why?
explain.
What's...
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Okay,
the
I'll
grass
climb
is
up on the
moving and
rock.
there's no wind. There's something not right with the grass. It's moving. There's no wind. There's no breeze. There's no nothing here.
You're absolutely right.
I know.
All of a sudden you start to hear more commotion. One of your younger cousins, Joe has been swimming. And as he climbs up out of the water and he sits there for a moment, drying himself off on the sand. He starts to get up, and all of the skin on the back of his calves comes off.
Holy shit.
And he screams in pain, like, my legs.
Okay. Phineas is going to go and try and help him immediately. Can he sort of help with some sort of first aid or something? Or
sure. You run over to him, and what you're seeing is that it's literally as if, well, I mean, it's a modern thing to say, but as if he were super glued to the sand, and it just ripped his skin off when he tried to get up.
Oh my god.
Do a spot hidden for me.
Spot hidden. 69. No.
Okay. Go ahead and do your first aid.
Okay. 42. Yes, I passed.
Okay, you're basically able to get him up and help him over to a picnic table. But as you are moving towards the picnic table, because you need to sort of get him in a position where you can examine the wound and maybe put some cool water on it or something. You don't really have bandages or anything here. He suddenly reacts again, and when you try to kind of lean him back onto the table, you realize that the same thing now is happening to the bottoms of his feet. That it seems to be sticking to the grass.
I run over towards the water, and I start picking up as many of the kids as I can and yelling for the adults to get the children.
Okay. As you run over on the beach, just as you hit the water line, you start to realize that your feet are kind of sticking in the sand.
The rubber on the bottom of the feet, or whatever the soles are made out of.
It's like there's suddenly, if you stop even for a second, it's almost like something is pulling down on your shoes.
All right. I try not to stop and try to just grab a couple of kids and get them on top of the table or something.
Okay. You manage to do that. You start to hear more noise from around the area. Similar things are happening. People are being somehow injured by the sand and the grass. Some of the kids that are in the water that you haven't gotten to suddenly come out of the water rather quickly. They say that it smells bad, that something's wrong with the water. And in fact, you begin to get a smell not unlike vomit wafting sort of off the water. You now notice that there's a couple of other people who they were lying out on the grass as well. And they seem to be struggling to get up, and they can't. But at this point, everybody is kind of panicking a little bit.
I've certainly helped Ruth up to the surface of the picnic table, and I'm calling out for my mother.
Okay. Your mother, she is a ways away from you. You can see her over by a tree, on a picnic. She's sitting at a picnic table. She's got lemonade. She was chatting with one of the uncles and not really paying attention to the commotion. Maybe she's a little hard of hearing. But as you look over at her, you notice that something green is creeping up her legs, and she doesn't realize it yet.
All right, I'm going to tell Ruth, stay here, and I'm going to run down and see if I can grab a hold of that sedge grass before my mom loses a limb.
Okay. So you're running over to her. Let's see.
I'm yelling for my father louder and more insistently by his first name, and also for my brother Sam. Pretty constantly, nonstop, alternating back and forth.
Yeah, I'm yelling for my wife and daughter and son-in-law to get their asses back to the car.
Sam, you notice, has climbed up into a tree. He's not saying anything, but he's like up in a tree, scared shitless. And Fred, you said that you're getting your wife and daughter.
Yeah, and her husband, and telling them to go back to the car to get as far away as possible from the beach if they can.
They're already up on tables.
Oh, well.
But the car is a long way off, and there's a lot of grass between here and there.
This grass is pretty consistent all the way up to the path, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
People are freaking out. Most of you now have gotten into positions where you're fairly safe. Edwin. You and your girlfriend are. You said you were running over to your.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask Ruth to stay on top of the picnic table.
Okay, she's staying on top of the
she
table.
will or not.
And you're running over to your mother.
Yeah.
Just as you get to your mother, you realize that she is now making noise, and she is struggling as well. When you get there, you realize, I keep saying you realize, sorry, the grass, not only is it grass now, but there are tendrils, vines, that have sort of wrapped themselves around her legs. And the man who is with her is in a similar condition. He's also been pinned. His legs have been pinned. And not only are the tendrils wrapping around his legs, but around the table itself. So it sort of has tied them to the table. You're able to get up on the table, but try as you might pulling on your mother, you can't seem to get her loose.
Well, the pocket knife worked on Aunt Phyllis's hair, on the grass in Aunt Phyllis's hair, but I'd have to sort of bend over awkwardly to try to cut at the base of it where it reached up to her leg.
Well, and you could also risk standing in the grass as well to save your mother.
Yeah, at least I've got shoes and long trousers on.
All right. I would like you to do a sanity roll, though.
Sure.
In fact, I think everybody needs to do sanity rolls at this point.
Oh, I failed quite miserably. 97 for 65.
Oh, I rolled the same thing.
Hmm.
I
So
got it this time, 18.
I'd like you to do, if you failed, I'd like you to do 1d4. If you made it, you can just take 1 point of damage.
Took 3.
Okay.
2.
It's about noontime, and everybody is stranded on tables or up in trees. There are half a dozen members of the family that are still lying in the grass, and we lost somebody. Who'd we lose? We lost Tim. I'll wait.
Is anybody cooking? Was there anybody cooking like lunch, like barbecuing for the midday meal?
It was catered, so the food was
Prepared
already
offsite?
prepared. Yeah. And the staff, some of them are also on tables and on rocks and up trees.
And where is Uncle Edwin?
Who knows? I know. I'm the GM.
This is 6 hours before the big surprise.
Can I just ask Tom at the moment? I've asked Helen to get up on the rocks with Beatrice. I think she's still there.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, somewhere out there is Aunt Gertrude. Anybody seen her?
Do a spot hidden for me. We didn't go anywhere, Tim. We just waited for you, sort of.
Sorry about
Not
that.
fail.
Okay. You don't see her. So she's
Right.
somewhere. As I was saying, that there are members of the family that are pinned in the grass, and some of them are. Whereas at the first they were kind of screaming, now they are just sort of moaning in agony, and you can see that they're sort of writhing, but you're not quite sure whether they're doing that or the grass and the tendrils are in fact doing that to them. And they are bloody. You also see children pinned in the grass.
How far away is my dad from me at this point? And what's in between me and my dad? Is there anything? Are there rocks between me and my dad? Like,
no, your father's probably about 200 feet away, and there's nothing but grass and hillocks.
if I yell for the lady that he's with, will she respond?
Maybe, but they're both up on tables now.
Oh, they are up on tables now. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
As you guys are in these positions, you're wondering what to do, and we'll get to this in a moment. We're going to jump to 1 o'clock, so it's about 1 o'clock. Most of you who are still alive, those of you who are in the grass, those who were in the grass are dead, and you can see that rather quickly they are being stripped of flesh by something, the grass. 1 o'clock, and there is a strange sort of rumbling sound that you can feel it sort of shake the ground just a little bit. If you're looking in the direction of any of these little hillocks that are in the area, you swear they moved a little bit. And to your horror, you notice too that bits and pieces of the cliffs have sort of collapsed, and that the path leading out of the area is covered in rocks. A couple of the cars have actually jiggled right off the edge of the cliff and have come crashing down into the depression. And the water in the lake is rippling.
I'm going to get down on my hands and knees, basically kind of grasping the rock, and encourage my boyfriend to do the same thing, and just look really nervously. She's looking at the rock. She's going to talk to Delilah a little bit quietly, asking her for help, what's going on, stuff like that.
Your imaginary friend.
Yes, that's right.
Delilah's not saying anything.
Then something is definitely amiss.
Oh, Tim, you might have missed it. I mentioned that Helen, Phineas's wife, is on the rocks with you as well.
Ah, very good. So I encourage her to get down with us.
Tom, can I just ask, the guy I was helping on the table, he's been now wrapped up in the vines and stripped as well, and
he's been pulled off the table now and onto the grass. Yeah, and he struggles in agony, but the grass and the tendrils are doing their job.
okay.
And my mother and her friend?
The same. Do a sanity roll.
Yeah. And I'm alone now on a different table from my girlfriend, which is great. Oh, I made that one. Oh, two.
All right. Something you need to do a 1d4.
Yeah. Oh, one. Falling.
Before I continue, do any of you want to formulate a plan of action?
My son-in-law, Philmont, brought a basket with him. He was rather proud of his contents. Is it anywhere nearby where we are now?
What kind of a basket? You mean like a picnic basket?
Yep. Yeah, it was full of several liters of moonshine.
Oh, okay. Do a luck roll.
Yes, 46 of 50.
Yeah, it's just within reach.
I want to grab it and pour some of the shine on the grass and try to light it.
Okay. You're pouring it like right in front of you, or?
Yeah, just like off the side of the table, and then just kind of reaching down and trying to light it really fast to see if I can burn this grass that's moving around all creepy like. And
okay. All right. When you do that, moonshine burns pretty well too. You throw it out into a patch, and you light it on fire, and you can see almost immediately that the grass, blackens in the heat. And for eventually the alcohol burns off. It's a little difficult to see because it's a clear blue flame.
right.
But as soon as you're pretty sure that it's out, there is a blackened area on the ground with what looks like dead grass.
And it's not moving any longer?
Nothing there is moving at the moment, no.
Okay. And this would have just been like pouring it out over the edge of the table somewhere near me. So I could,
Right.
Just do a test area and light it easily.
Right.
Oh.
Just hold on just one moment. I have to break for a second.
Man, guys, I have no idea what to do.
Suffer and die.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel. Like I'm on this rock in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. Hang on tight. I'm curious why I have such a high level of riding on my character. I wonder if that's going to come in handy here. Am I going to ride this rock? Is that what's going on?
I don't think my skills in ancient Sumerian or Egyptian are going to help a great deal on this beach.
Maybe you can see the creature. I don't know.
All right. So, do you guys have any idea what you're going to? Well, Fred, you're you're working on something.
Yeah. I mean, after that, in the back of my mind, I start wondering if I'm going to have to build a fire here. And so I'm looking around, and if I don't have a big pocket knife, I'm looking for any other utensil I can use to start kind of chipping away and busting up little slivers and pieces off the edges of this table to start make some kindling.
Okay. We'll say you have a pocket knife. It's not going to give you much.
Well, I don't need a whole lot just to get, some splinters to start a fire.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to get a good sized pile. I imagine that'll take a little bit.
Well, right around 2:00. Okay. You're all definitely sure that the hillocks are wiggling. They're moving. The trees around the edges. I should mention that there are a few of them that come almost up to the top of the cliff. But you're not sure that climbing them would actually get you out of the depression. But maybe close. The rocks of the cliff themselves are might be climbable, but they're also partly collapsing in places. So they might be very dangerous. What you start to notice around 2:00, first one who notices it is Beatrice. She's looking over at Sam up in the tree, and there are definitely vines that are climbing up the tree, and they are going for Sam.
So she's going to yell for him to jump and run towards her as fast as he can. And she's also going to, oh God, I don't want to do this. She's also going to jump off the rock and start running towards him as well. And she's actually going to be doing more of like run jumping. So she's going to be trying to use basically jump to stay as much off the grass as she can.
Okay. All right. When Sam, in kind of a panic, just as the vines are about to grab at him, he leaps off down from the tree and immediately starts running. But you can see now that with every stride, grass and tendrils are trying to grab a hold of him. And they are definitely slowing him down. You, on the other hand, as you've jumped down, you've hit kind of a sandy patch, but you sink into it a little bit, and the grass and the tendrils that are nearby start moving towards you, and you only get a couple of steps before you realize that they're going to get a hold of you. In fact, you already start to feel what feel like little pin pricks around your feet.
So she's going to immediately jump back onto the rock again because it's clear she's not going to make it, and she's going to scream for her brother, crying.
Is anybody near Beatrice as she jumped down?
Her boyfriend and his wife, Finis, his wife.
I'm going to say your boyfriend's going to try to pull you up. Okay. Do a luck roll.
Okay. Those always work. No, I in fact got a 93.
Ooh.
And I can't push luck. I can't push my luck, can I?
Well, I allow you to use luck points, but you can't use luck points to make luck points.
Yeah.
Your boyfriend grabs a hold of your arm and he pulls and he tries to get you unwedged. And You now feel sharp shooting pain in your feet, but you manage to pull loose, and your boyfriend manages to roll off the rock onto the sand. And he lands kind of on his back.
Well, that's not good.
So as you scramble back up onto the rock, he suddenly realizes that he's pinned, only he's out of reach from being up on the rock. So he starts to screech. Do a sanity roll.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Also lost 63. I'm rolling great, guys.
Do a 1d6.
Oh, no, okay. 4.
Ooh, okay. You're totally freaked out.
Yeah.
You're screaming.
She's screaming and crying, and it's a whole mix.
Let's see. Who hasn't done anything in a bit? David. Fred, what are you doing?
I am still really confused by this whole situation. None of this makes sense. We haven't seen Edwin, correct? My brother? And I'd hate to think he had something to do with this, but with him being gone and knowing he's had his moments of oddities, I'm concerned he had something to do with this. What? I have no idea. I'm really focused on trying to be able to start a fire here, if necessary, burning, an entire picnic bench so that maybe we can get some boards burning well and use them like torches. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now, is how can I make as much fire or as much portable fire as possible.
Well, the picnic benches themselves are made out of wood, but they're big, heavy, like 2x6s. So without an axe or something like that, your pocket knife isn't going to do very good.
Sure. That was only just to get some slivers for kindling.
Right.
And I see this character is has diminished strength. So I would have to enlist the help of other strong men to try to pry the boards loose, essentially pulling the nails out, or pulling the boards up off of the frame itself.
And they're actually bolted down. So
they're bolted, not nailed.
Right.
Well, then that's just not going to work. I'm really confused. I'm kind of hoping that some help is going to come, and that someone will eventually wonder where the catering crew is and why they haven't came back for refills, or someone will show up with more stuff and see what's happened off the hill.
Do an idea roll.
Yeah, I got a hard success on that.
It does occur to you though that the table could theoretically be flipped over. It's wood. You could use it almost like a platform, or scoot it forward somehow.
So if we all got on top of one table, or rather enough people got off of one table to flip it, we could then push it, everybody get to that table, flip the other table, move it some more distance, and then kind of hop table back and forth.
Maybe that's a crazy idea.
It does. It sounds like an insane idea, but this whole situation sounds crazy as fuck. So I think
which is great because we all have a strength of like 30, so this is perfect.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that quite frankly that Philmont's going to show his worth all of a sudden, because he is younger and stronger than me. Yeah.
I've got a strength of 65, and I couldn't detenderalize my own mom.
What is the water doing at the moment, Tom?
I'm sorry?
What's the water doing at the moment?
The water is rocking and rippling, almost as if it were a windy, choppy day, but there's no wind.
Are we still getting a nasty smell from that direction?
Yes, yes. In fact, now as you look around, the bodies that are in the ground, that are laying on the ground, are actually being somehow pulled down into the ground. Their flesh being stripped along the way, and a strong smell of vomit. Does anybody have medical? Actually, the pharmacist. Go ahead and do a pharmacy roll.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
43 out of 50.
It smells like stomach acid,
Acid.
hydrochloric acid.
Mm.
As she's sitting on the rock, she kind of wipes her eyes a little bit and she's looking around trying to see if the grass is moving in a pattern or if it's just all of the grass is moving like that, or if it seems to be in like patches or
All the grass in the area seems to be moving almost like the waves of an ocean. It's all rippling and much stronger now than it was before. You actually notice that the little serrated edges on the grass seem to have gotten more prominent, that it's actually sawing at the wood of the table legs that you're on. People who have tried to get up into trees are having the same problem. The tendrils are reaching up and climbing up after them. A few people get pulled out into the grass screaming, and that's the end of them. They get torn up by the grass.
I'm going to pick one of those table legs again, trying to be sparing with this alcohol, but pour it around the table leg and try to burn them back to see if they come right back over the material that I burn.
All right. You notice, of course, that the grass gets killed, but the tendrils seem to be coming from all over the place, and they're the ones that get burned or singed. They sort of stop moving, but others come from around. They're coming from everywhere. In fact, you also notice that earlier patch that you burned, that smaller blades of grass are now starting to spring up in that spot and replace the ones that were gone. There's another rumbling, and you can see the cliff side where the path was completely crushes in on itself. So there is no longer a path leading up and out. In general, the ground starts to rumble. You can feel it shaking. You can see the water in the lake react to it like there's an earthquake.
How far away are we from, say, a park office or something like that? Park office, a store, anything? Where other people might be.
You're actually quite a ways out in the woods. There's probably not a park office for 10 miles.
She just starts repeating over and over again that we're all going to die.
Whereas conversely, I keep
about the. Sorry, Tom. In the situation we're in, where's the only safe places? Is it people sitting on the rocks and just sort of burning areas around them? Is that about the only safe areas where?
At the moment, it seems like people on the rocks are safe. Some people up in trees are safe. People on tables seem to be safe, but that safety is going away as these tendrils are starting to creep their way up and over everything, including the rocks.
Okay. What about the tents that were here? Do they look like they've been covered in these?
The tents by now, you see they have been partly pulled down. The metal supports that were there are sort of pulled down, and the tables underneath them. Some of the staff was on them, but when the tents came down, it sort of put a sheet over the top of them all, and Some of them might still be alive, but otherwise they've probably been pulled off the tables by the tendrils in the grass.
And there's no sort of safe other places around that we can see any sort of paths where these activities aren't occurring or anything like that? Or
No, doesn't seem like anything.
I think I am going to try to talk our group of tables into creating the sled idea of moving one table at a time and transferring ourselves to the next table, and kind of like how the Egyptians moved one log to the front of the big monolith stone, and then they rolled the stone a little bit, then they picked up the log at the end and they moved it over. Obviously, we're not going to roll these under us, but we could probably swing them around in a fashion that the one trailing ends up getting pulled and dragged back to the front to inch us towards the rocks.
Well, if there's 3 or 4 of us, can't we each sort of lift the table, move it forward, get onto that one, and carry on that way?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, we'll lift it or slide it, whatever works
Yeah.
better. If it's easier to do it while they're upright, or if it's easier to flip them and then use them like a sled and just push them, because if they're too heavy to lift. But I would assume with 3 or 4 adults, I mean, you should be able to move these tables. Yeah. It'd just be
Tom,
awkward
can we
because we're
safely
doing
say
it
that
from the purchase of other tables.
I'm sorry,
Tom,
David?
can we safely say that all the PCs are together now? Are we all sort of grouped in a similar area, or are we all kind of still spread out a bit?
Yeah, let's say that you're all within reaching distance of each other.
So we can pretty much talk and cooperate and that.
Right. And I'll give you the thing. I won't make you roll a strength thing for moving the tables. You guys, your adrenaline is probably through the roof at this point.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, this is the only idea, guys. Let's go for this. Let's get these tables moving.
Maybe if we can get them into the water, they're heavy wood, they'll float. I don't see people came in out of the water because it smelled bad, but they didn't get sucked into it.
Yeah, but didn't the guy who was in the water get all burnt and all that? The one I was treating?
He was in the sand.
Oh, he's in the sand there. Okay.
I'd rather smell like vomit than have my flesh eaten off of my body.
It doesn't matter. We're all going to die.
All right.
Don't say that sort of thing in front of my Ruth.
She's just crying.
We've got 2
I'm
choices
going
here.
to
People
say-
move the desks or go for a swim.
So your guys are going to, am I to understand that you're going to try and move the tables closer to the water?
Yes.
Well, to the rocks. I think I'd like to get onto the rocks at the minimum at this point,
Okay.
and then figure out if we can travel by water. Does that sound okay to the rest of you?
What's the right direction?
Yeah.
They're equal distance. You can go to the rocks or you can go towards the water. Or you can go in another direction if you want.
I think the rocks are a better option. I don't know what
Well, if
people's
we could at
swimming
least
are.
group there, we can pick up, Beatrice and people.
If we can get over to the cliff, we can climb the rocks.
Perhaps.
Okay.
How difficult does that cliff look? Is it mostly a sheer cliff except where the trail
No,
was?
It's rocky. It's rough and rocky, and rougher now than it was. It will be difficult, but it might be climbable as long as it doesn't collapse on you while you're trying to climb it.
Do we have any cousins nearby that we don't particularly care for?
All of them.
Yes, all of them.
Maybe we can
All right.
convince one to go swim for help.
Or a game of leapfrog over to the cliff.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is anybody here a strong swimmer?
No.
I'm not strong.
I have a
Um,
50% chance. I'm okay.
You got 50. I think you're the best in the group then.
One of you,
My climb is as bad as my swim.
as this is all happening to you, one of you notices cousin Carl farther down on the beach, and he's managed somehow. He's got some pieces of canvas, and he's kind of doing what you guys have suggested. He's throwing the canvas down, jumping on it, taking the second piece and throwing it over here, jumping on it, pulling the next piece, and he's heading towards the water. And when he finally gets to the water, he jumps in and starts to swim. But you see him go only about 20 feet out into the water when he suddenly starts to struggle and try to get back to the shore. You see him gasping and freaking out. He barely gets back to the shore, and he jumps up onto the tarp, and you can see that his skin is blistered all over.
We ain't going in the water, people.
Why don't you guys do a sanity roll again?
I lost for the third time in a row.
I just made it.
Big fail.
Extreme success that time.
Okay. If you made it, especially with an extreme success, you are just hardened. You're resolved that you're not going to freak out. If you failed, did anyone do an extreme fail? No? Okay.
What is an extreme fail?
That would be like 99 or 98.
No, 82.
Just go ahead and do a 1D. Do a 1D6 at this point, because despair is starting to set in.
And there's another 3 gone. That's a net total of
six
9
points.
All
6
right.
points in one go.
All right.
How's Beatrix holding up over here?
That's Edwin.
Not great.
Edwin got 6 points. Edwin. Where are my cards?
She's gone from 45 to 34.
Here's my cards. Okay. Edwin. Let's see.
Although if I can manage to somehow get to the cliff, I have a 60 climb.
How are you so good at swimming and climbing?
She's a little
Have you
girl.
seen her? She's a little bit, yeah.
She's a future Lara Croft.
Okay. Do me a favor and pick a number between 1 and 7. Edwin. What'd you pick? Edwin? David?
I'm Phineas.
Oh, Phineas. Sorry.
Right. Oh, between 1 and 7? 7.
5, 6, 7. Unfortunately, you completely panic and run for your life. So you've lost all sense of you're going to make a break for it. Let's say you're going to
Just
head
like the wall. It's just like the wall.
you're going to head for the wall, the cliff. I would like you to do a luck roll.
Oh, very good. 1%.
1. Okay. Without warning, you leap off the table and you run in the direction of the cliff. Perhaps it's the adrenaline. Perhaps it's just you feel like you're running on your tiptoes as fast as you can possibly run. And you make it all the way to the closest tree that is, in fact, up against the cliff. And I'd need you to do a climb roll.
7%. I do pass.
Wow. Okay. You go up the tree and you get as high as you can, but at that point, you're just hugging the tree and completely freaking out. You're actually kind of out of your mind at the moment, but you'll come out of it in a few rounds. What does everybody? Did anybody else fail with more than 5 points? Okay. So you guys have all seen him scream and run. Now it's going to be more difficult for you to move the table because you have one less person.
Goodbye, Uncle Phineas.
So,
well, I guess we're still making for the rocks.
All right. Well, it takes you about 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get to the rocks. And we're going to say that it is now about 3 p.m.
So we still have 3 hours before the surprise. And in June, upstate, the sun's going to be up until 8, probably.
Probably.
And there's still no sign of Edwin.
Mm-mm.
And there isn't any place, there's no permanent structures here. He either is in the grass, in the sand, or he left up the hill before things began to get weird. Yeah.
Well,
if you're saying that out loud, then I'm like, yeah, I can't see where you'd be out here.
What if he was caught by the grass?
It seemed like the people that were caught in the grass were caught in the grass for a while, and I didn't see him laying out there anywhere, unless he was he was just out of view, maybe behind one of the rocks or something.
Well, if anybody would have gotten help, it's Uncle Edwin.
Maybe he would have gotten help.
Or another. Yeah.
I'll let you all do an idea roll.
Yeah. Either way, I think
to
the cliffs.
I got a 99.
Your idea is to just,
I'm going to listen to the rock to see if it's talking to me. I don't know.
Regular success.
A regular success for me, too.
The cliffs all the way around this area aren't really, they're not smooth cliffs. They're rocky. They're convoluted, if you will. There are plenty of nooks and crannies and little areas where you could be private if you wanted to, around a corner, behind a rock. It's possible that there could be caves in this area as well.
My other really big concern, these cliffs, this is an older area. These aren't like new cliffs caused by construction work being done in this area being cleaned. So there's going to be dirt in the cracks and places water can accumulate. Therefore, places plants can grow in the cliffs and in the crevices. And we
there are trees blocking your view of every place. So
yeah. So we could get to the cliffs and then find out these things are infested into the rocks too.
Let me ask a question. Since I'm from this general area and my dad digs holes for a living, is there a way I could roll the natural world roll to see if I could identify any cliffs that might be in the area or a local history or something?
No.
Okay.
Unless we knew this particular area, there's no way.
Okay.
But there certainly could be cliffs.
Or
I
caves.
mean,
I mean, I'm looking
there
for
are
like
cliffs.
indicators,
There
natural
are
indicators.
cliffs, but yeah, unless you'd actually explored it, there'd be no way to know. There definitely could be caves. I meant, not cliffs.
Cousin Lloyd or whoever with the 2 tarp system, he came out of the water with blisters, screaming. Did he just
Right.
give up?
Um,
Or is he headed somewhere?
He's on top of the tarp. He's not moving. He might not be. You can see that he's breathing, but he's blistered all over his skin. So he's not the
He
slightest
might be in
movement now.
shock.
Yeah, I think he's in
Yeah.
shock.
Yeah. Pity those tarps are so handy.
There is.
Does anybody have any like has anybody seen in the area any rope or anything like that is around? Maybe for setting up tents and stuff? Has there been anything laying around?
There's some cording that was used to tie up the tents. That's all lying kind of in the jangled mess of the tents at the moment.
Well, I think we need to start moving now. And I think we should try using these tables again. And if possible, pick up some of that tarping or the cordage to help us once we get to the cliffs to if we have to rip the tarps into strips to make, some sort of improvised rope, or even if we get over there and then realize we need to be able to cover up some of the grass or the wildlife to get onto the cliffs, I think it would be helpful to have that with us. Do we think we can do it?
I don't see what else we could do. If we stay here on the rocks, the tendrils are just going to keep piling up, or on the bench either way.
But they haven't come for us yet on the rocks.
I thought you had some tendril action up there.
Mm-mm. No, it's
Sorry,
been pretty.
they're creeping up, but they haven't gotten there yet.
I really hate to think it, but if Edwin was involved in this in any way, being here for the big surprise at 6 o'clock, that's just not my. That just doesn't seem sensible to me. I don't know what could be wrong with him, but if this was somehow part of his plan, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and he left that, he said something sinister to my mother, God rest her soul, about it being better that my father not be here. So I don't think this is a coincidence at all. I think the crazy old bastard wants to be his own heir.
And truthfully, I've seen no signs of him being ill. I don't spend every day with him, but anytime I've spoken to him or seen him, which has been several months, but I've seen no indications that he's sick or ready to pass.
No, I think he's passing on us, and the cliffs are probably the best thing. If we can get the people off the rocks onto our sled train, then maybe we can make progress over there. Maybe we can even still get Phineas out of the tree.
Yeah.
You look east down the beach, and there are other people on rocks over there. You notice Cousin Curtis. He makes a dash for the nearby cliff and starts to climb. And in those moments, all you can do is cheer him on, because he seems to be making it. And finally, he gets all the way to the top of the cliff, and then he just runs. You see him disappear out of sight.
Well, I hope Curtis comes back with help, but didn't Curtis have kind of a problem?
Maybe. Phineas, you suddenly start to come to your senses. You're not where you were before. You're up in a tree, clinging to a branch. You look down and you can see tendrils making their way up the branch, but you amazingly got quite high. You're maybe 10 feet from the top of the cliff. And maybe
Did I get to the west one or the east one?
you're actually at the north side.
The north side.
You ran almost straight north.
Okay.
It would be like a 5-foot leap from the tree to the cliff. And then you would have to hopefully have a hold of the cliff and climb up if that's possible. Otherwise, it looks kind of dangerous. I mean, you could plummet, 20 feet down, land on the rocks, and roll onto the grass.
Okay. More importantly, is there any way from where I am at the moment that I can assist any of the others?
No,
Shout to them?
you've ran at least nearly 200 feet away from where they were. You don't know how the hell you got there.
And left my wife back there as well. Right.
Yes, you did.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Right.
Well, she's on the rocks. We'll try to bring her with us. I mean, we wouldn't leave her there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Okay, if there's nothing I can do to help the rest, I'm going to go for the jump.
Okay. You're going to have to do a jump roll.
Okay.
And a luck roll.
And bearing in mind my jump is 20%. I fail with a 45. Can I use luck in any way for that?
Yes. You can use the luck points to make up for it. But now you don't have that much luck.
Or you could always push the roll.
I've got
we'll leave it at that.
50 luck. I've got 50 luck.
Okay. So you're going to subtract the luck from...
Yep.
All right.
So I'll do that. Yep.
So you make the jump. You manage to... You slide down a bit, but you manage to grab a hold of the cliff and not slide all the way down. Now you need to do a climb roll if you're going to try to climb up and out.
Here goes the climb roll. And that's a fail on 36.
Okay.
Can I use luck again?
In this case, I would like you to, if you want to push the roll.
Push it. Yeah.
However, if you don't make it, you're going to fall.
If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out with style. So how does the push it roll work? Can I just re-roll again or what?
You roll it again, but you have to get at least a hard.
Right. I got an 11. Oh, I don't believe that. I got an 11% out of 20. So I think I've just missed.
Right. So you managed to grab a hold of a rock, and just this tremendous adrenaline rush comes over you, and you pull yourself up and up on top of and you manage to get up on top of the cliff. Now, when you're there and you turn around and you look at what's going on, there's something happening along the water line. It's almost as if there's a sort of a jagged line, a depression in the sand right along the water line, going right to where the rocks are and past it, that wasn't there before. It's like the sand is sinking right at that part. But in sort of a thin, long line going along there. All of you see that he's made it to the top of the cliff. And I'd like to ask you what you do now that you're at the top of the cliff. You can see your wife way over there.
Okay, so I can basically see sort of the sand disappearing.
It looks like the sand is falling into like a crack or something along the water line.
Okay. How much of the rest of the group near the sand now? How far have they got in on the grass?
Well, you guys are still at the rocks though, right?
Okay.
Yeah, they're only about 10 feet from where this crack is starting to appear.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were just starting to work on putting that plan together to take off on the tables and pick up some tarps and get over to the rocks. Well, get over to the cliffs.
I can see this. Can the rest of them see this? Are they noticing this, or are they?
They're too close to They're too close to it to see it. You're up above, looking down.
Okay, I'm waving my arms frantically to get their attention, and screaming to them, "Get away from the sand! Get away from the sand!"
Everybody do a listen roll, except for see if you can actually hear what he's saying.
No way.
Miserable fail.
Nope.
I rolled a 95, so I think he probably said jump into the sand.
Could I try to make a spot hidden to see him waving or something, or no?
Well, you can see him. I just
Okay.
wanted to know if you could hear him.
Who's the lunatic up on the cliff top?
You aren't sure what he's saying. Something like "Don't put sand in your eyes." But he's also like, you're also thinking that maybe he's going like, I made it, fuck you all.
Not with his wife, Helen, here. Dear Helen, who stuck by him through thick and thin.
Until today.
So the rest of you're going to try to get to the tarps?
I think.
Is that what you were going to do?
Yeah, I think that's what we were going to do. We were going to try to go to the cliffs with a stop at the tarps. Because it looks like on the map there were, if we go, kind of northwest a little bit, we'll run into some of the tarps, and then we can just go straight north the rest of the way to the cliffs.
Oh, actually, maybe I didn't explain. He was farther down the beach to the east.
Right.
So the tarps are actually closer. You guys have your maps in front of you, right?
Yeah.
They're actually closer to those rocks that are over by the cliffs where you saw Cousin Carl escape.
Okay, I got you there, but what about all of those other tents that were set up right by where on the map it says Uxbridge Family Reunion?
Yes, those are over towards the west of you.
Yeah, that's why I was saying go a little bit northwest, try to grab that top north one, and then go up towards the rocks.
All right.
At least maybe that'll give us something for the weaker climbers to make some semblance of rope out of to assist each other.
Okay.
Well, I'm probably more to the west, directly to the west of that cliff, because the other cliff is up over a hill in that passage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if it's flatter in that direction, you guys think it's a good idea, then sure.
Are all of the former hospitality tents equally overgrown, more or less, or is there some like areas where we might be able to pull some fabric free?
Yeah, they're not necessarily overgrown. They're just kind of laying on the ground. But there were tables underneath them, so they're bumpy, And for all you know, there are also bodies underneath them that have been grabbed. This actually might have made sense, but there would be a moment when maybe a couple of the tent parts burst into flame because there were probably chafing
Dishes. Yeah.
But that's all over with. That part is wrapped, but there's still lots of the tent that's kind of laying over on top of everything.
So are we able to make it there with the table system then?
All right. So
It seems like our best bet.
you guys start doing that. And I'm going to say that it takes you nearly a half an hour because it's difficult going. And along the way, you have to kind of struggle with the grass because the grass kind of tries to clutch at the table as you flip it around. But by about, let's say it's 4:30, you manage to get to the tarps, and you have a pocket knife. You manage to tear some large pieces out of the tent because the tent's actually very large and heavy. But you manage to get some pieces. Now, you're preparing. Which direction do you want to go? What cliffs? Where?
Does it look like we can get a good handhold and footholds trying to climb up on the cliffs that are just due west of there?
Maybe. Yeah.
There's some more tables west of us too. We might be able to pick up some table on the way to expedite the whole thing. Table plus canvas was probably pretty good, and I'm fairly strong.
We do grab the cord as well that was lying there.
Okay. All right. And Phineas, you're up on top of the cliff. What have you done? Have you run away or?
Okay. So can you just sort of explain at the moment, the access path itself, is that now littered with rocks and everything? Did you say before?
It's completely buried. It doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Okay.
But that's kind of the area that you climbed up.
Okay. You mentioned that some of the cars came over the cliff edge.
Yes.
And went crashing down below. They are smashed to pieces at the bottom, are they? Or?
Many of them are. Some of them are still functional. The ones that were farther away from the cliff.
Okay, you mean back up in the parking lot?
Right.
Okay.
And in 1923, people didn't lock cars, did they?
What's that?
I don't think in 1923 that people really locked cars.
Oh, no, nobody would have locked a car.
Yeah.
There's no feasible way of getting a car down to there, is there?
No.
That I can see.
There is. Push it off the cliff. It's not usable anymore. But...
okay. It's a little bit random, but the chance of making some sort of path for them that they can get to using the tables and all that, if I can push a couple of the cars.
Okay, you can try that.
Okay.
We'll
go for that.
Why don't you do a luck roll? Yeah.
Let me just check that. No.
Okay. You push one of the cars off, but it sort of crashes and just in a big heap of twisted metal and sharp edges. So it's probably not going to work. And that was a nice car, but
not in true Hollywood fashion. It bursts into flames or something. And
no, that rarely happens. But we'll say that it was a Silver Cloud Rolls Royce that you pushed. Actually, that would probably not be possible because they weighed like 10 tons. All right. But as you are there up at the cliff, looking out, this sort of line along the water's edge has gotten larger. And as the rest of you are pulling the tarps off and getting ready to make your way over the cliff, the ground begins to shake. And there's a moment when it's quite violent. Phineas, you have to literally run away from the edge of the cliff because you're afraid that it's going to collapse. And as this happens, the ground near the water's edge splits open. The rocks that you guys were standing on, they roll into the open crack. You see the other people down the beach trying to scramble. And from the top of the cliff, looking down, you see the lake pouring into this crack as if it were a huge waterfall, just pouring down into the crack. And at the same time, as you're looking in horror, there are these strange conical white or off-white objects inside the crack. And in a moment of absolute insanity, you realize that they are teeth.
Huh?
It's like a huge jack-o'-lantern's mouth has opened along the beach, and the lake is pouring into it, and the ground is shaking.
Sand check?
Yeah. Sand check for everybody.
Nah, we're used to this by now.
91.
Pass.
If you failed, 1d6.
73 out of 44. Or
5.
34, excuse me.
Six.
1d6.
Yeah.
I lost 6 sanity there.
3.
Is there
Alright.
immense sand damage for a pass?
Yeah, 1d4.
Okay, that means I've gone from 65 sanity at lunch to 57 now.
Okay. Anybody got 5 or more points of damage?
Yes.
I got 5 in that roll alone.
All right.
6.
We'll start on one end. David, Edwin.
Edwin.
1d. I'm sorry. Pick 1 to 7. Between 1 and 7.
2.
All right. 1, 2. All of a sudden, your body goes numb, and you can't feel your legs, and you sort of collapse to the ground. You're on top of the tarp, but your legs won't work. Let's see, who else?
I lost 6.
Okay. Let me mix these up again. Go ahead and pick 1 to 7.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. You become hysterical. You start screaming. You become irrational. You just you become hysterical. People shaking you or grabbing you, you just won't stop screaming. Who else? Fred? Did you
I
pass?
took 1 on my D4 roll.
Phineas, did you pass?
I took 3 sanity points.
3 sanity. Okay. So nobody else took more than 5. All right. At this point, the lake is just pouring into this open mouth, and you guys don't know what the hell to do. You can scramble for the cliffs. The tendrils are now reaching up out of the ground. Some of them much larger. They're reaching for anything that's moving. If there are people in trees or on rocks, they're immediately grabbed. But you guys are about 10 feet away from the cliff face.
One last chance. Can I hunt through some of the cars that are left here and see if any of them have got ropes or anything? And I can start throwing ropes down and try and help these guys somehow.
Sure. Do a luck roll.
No way. Nope. Complete fail.
Okay. You're looking through the boots of these cars, and you can't find any rope or anything like that. A couple of dead hookers, but that's it. So you're doing that. The rest of you are trying to. Well, you tell me what you're going to do.
I think I'm sitting in the canvas with my numb legs, sort of waving my pocket knife with the giant tendrils all around me.
Okay.
I'll grab and cut if I can.
The rest of you see that he suddenly can't seem to move his legs.
Poor Ruth is screaming at me, but I ignore her.
Oh, Ruth is grabbed by a tendril,
Of course.
and it begins to drag her off of the tarp.
I scream at the family. We have to run for it. And I try to lead my family to the cliffs. If there's a strip of the tarp nearby to help, I'll grab it and run with it.
Dee Dee gets grabbed and rather violently just yanked off the tarp and onto the grass. Her husband tries to save her, but he makes it. He actually doesn't. He tries to grab a hold of her and pull her up, but ultimately he lets her go because she's just very quickly bloodied and pulled into the ground.
Okay.
Am I capable of making enough effort to grab Ruth, or am I too far gone at the moment?
Let's see. Yeah, no, Ruth is too quickly pulled away.
She was a good woman.
Hey, did my dad end up climbing the rocks and getting out of here, or is he toast too?
Oh, he's probably toast.
That's too bad.
Almost everybody now is toast, unless they'd already escaped. Cornelius.
So is it just me, my wife, and Philmont then?
It's you and your wife and Philmont. What are you going to do?
I think Helen is.
Have we made it to the cliff, like the base of the cliffs, and started to climb, or?
Yes. Okay, you've gotten to the bottom of the cliff.
Okay.
I'd like you to do a luck roll. First, do a luck roll on yourself.
Pass.
Okay. Do a luck roll for your wife.
Fail.
Okay. And do one for Philmont.
Pass.
Okay. You get about halfway up the cliff, and Ruth suddenly screams. She loses her footing. Excuse me. And rolls to the bottom of the cliff where she rolls onto the grass, and it immediately grabs a hold of her.
Is it possible for anyone to try to catch her as she's falling?
No. She's gone.
So Edwin's wife, Ruth, goes down then?
Yes.
Okay.
No, she was gone.
No. Delilah goes.
Oh, Delilah goes. Okay, gotcha.
So we've got Cornelius, Philmont. Let's see.
Helen is there.
Helen's there. Edwin. Let's go ahead and do. Let's do a luck.
Wait, can I ask one favor, Tom?
Yes.
Aunt Gertrude hasn't made an appearance at all. Can she have like a fitting end to her demise?
Okay. You look down from the cliff and you notice that she is up in a tree. And as you're looking at her, she's trying to reach for the cliff, but it's just out of reach. And it's at that point that you all sort of notice that the ground out by the lake and the shoreline and all that is heaving up into the air. Most of the water has been drained into the mouth of this thing. It's heaving up as if there's something monstrously huge under the ground, and it's rising up and it's changing the topography all around you. And the trees that are in the area just sort of pitch forward, and one of them just flings Aunt Gertrude towards the open mouth, and she just sails right into oblivion.
And then there's my luck roll.
Yeah, do your luck roll.
75 for 50. Doesn't look good.
Okay. You struggle to try to get to the cliffs, but your legs are holding you back. And tendrils now reach up. They grab your legs and they begin to drag you off the tarp. And you feel sharp pain in your legs as the tendrils penetrate through your skin, and the thousands of little blades of grass begin to strip your legs of their flesh. There's probably no point in doing a sanity roll, because at this point you most likely go into shock, and the thing pulls you off and consumes you.
Hi, guys.
Let's see.
At least I'm with my beloved Ruth.
Beatrice.
And Mom.
Yes.
Go ahead and do a luck roll. You're trying to climb the cliff.
Is there any way that I can augment this with natural world or anything like that?
No.
Okay. I had to give it a shot. All right. Luck, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got, 38 out of 50.
Okay. You managed to keep going up the cliff. You don't fall off. I'd like you then to all do climb rolls, those of you who are climbing the cliff.
I got a 29 out of, and all I have is the base 20. Can I spend 9 to make it?
Sure. 9 luck.
Yeah. I haven't spent any so far.
Success.
Did the rest of you
Can I use hard success to help out?
say that again?
Like hard success? I'm wondering if I might be able to extend a little help to coordinate.
At the moment, you guys are all just centered on yourselves, because
There's no chance of me reaching to any of them or helping them?
well, you will literally have to run through the woods all the way around to the cliff top where they are. That's about 600 or 700 feet. But if you were willing, you could probably do that. Everything, though, is pitching and yawing. Even the trees up above are now sort of, rocking in the ground, because this thing is emerging from the earth.
Well, Phineas is a good guy, so he'll try his best and try to help.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and do a luck roll?
Nope, complete fail.
Okay. How much did you fail? What was your roll?
Let me just look. Luck is now on 25, and I got a 73.
Okay. I was just hoping for maybe a 99. I would like you all to do one last climb roll to see if you make it to the top of the cliff.
Damn it.
Will I be?
I fail.
I got a 95, but I would like to spend my luck points to get it to a 60.
Yeah, no.
Oh. I have
All right.
enough.
Just as you.
I failed, but can I push?
Oh yeah, can I push the roll?
I'll tell you what, you can both push the roll, but you're going to have to get a hard success, or you're going to plummet down the cliff.
Wait, was I going to plummet down the cliff anyways?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'm
Oh, it's a
plummeting.
hard success. Shit. Nope, 53.
56.
Okay, so you both failed?
It's a regular success for me.
It's a fail.
All right. At the last minute, the rocks that you're grabbing a hold of begin to come loose, and they roll forward, and you both let go, and you both roll back down the cliff, and
And I fall on Cornelius and keep climbing. No, I'm just kidding.
You try to scramble back for the cliffs, but tendrils grab a hold of you, pull you on farther onto the ground. And in your last moments, as you feel the needles piercing your skin, and you look back, you can see a thing, dome sort of shaped, not like the top of my head, but just kind of curved like this. It rises up. The thing must be a mile across. It has huge, almost elephant-like, stubby feet, but the feet themselves are hundreds of feet across. Tentacles wave in the air, and the ground crushes around you. Phineas manages to jump in a car and drive as fast as he can. What's that?
Helen.
Yeah,
What happened to Helen?
Helen's gone. Everything has started to collapse in on itself. There's a huge crater where this thing rises up out of. Edwin, you go driving away as fast as you can in absolute terror.
No, Phineas does.
I'm sorry, Phineas does.
Is it 6 o'clock on the nose?
It's close to it. And this monstrous creature with mouths and eyes and strange writhing green tentacles all over it heads directly towards Albany. And later that evening, of course, there is, it attacks Albany and pretty much destroys it. And then it heads for New York City down the Hudson. And New York City is destroyed, and eventually it makes its way into the ocean. And that's the end of our story.
Wait, I've got one vital question, though.
Yes, I'll answer all your questions. Yeah.
Am I in line for the inheritance then?
Well, I guess you would be if it weren't for the fact that the mansion and everything in it and all of the records and everything were in Albany, and Albany was completely wiped off the map along with New York City. All right. Yeah, there were in fact caves. Uncle Edwin had discovered this entity many years ago, and he had researched to figure out a way that he could bring it to life. What he realized was he needed human sacrifices, and so he thought, who better than the whole family, because I hate them all. So he invited you there, and then as soon as he got the opportunity, he went and started the spell to wake the thing up. It took him actually until 6 o'clock to wake the whole thing up, but it was waking up slowly all day long.
So if we could have found him in his hidden cave, could we have interrupted it?
Yeah, you might have been able to kill him. The thing might have gone slowly back to sleep. In this particular scenario, the thing is referred to as Ulhuthek. It's a new old one created for the game. And as they pointed, an interesting thing he pointed out is it says at the top, this is a 1-page scenario, by the way, by the people from Reckoning of the Dead. It says, not all slumbering old ones lie below the earth. Some lay right on the surface, waiting to be disturbed. So all the grass and all of that was actually the creature. And it occasionally nibbled an animal or two that got in there. And that's the bones that you found in the beginning. And cool.
Possibly one of Edwin's previous experiments in sacrifice.
Yeah, maybe.
I was wondering about my knowledge of Sumerian and Egyptian. So I guess if I could have gotten a hold of the old beggar and looked at his books, because it's all of my skill points are amusingly in things that could not possibly come up in the scenario as we know it.
Yeah, in fact, that's the case with most of you. Those are kind of like the way I do red herrings. Is you guys are just regular people, and your skills may or may not have anything to do with the story itself. There's very little you could have done to have stopped this, except maybe finding him and killing him. But there are ways that you could have escaped. And if you could have found some way to make like a raft, you might have been able to raft away from it, at least initially. You would have had to have gotten across the lake and gotten away before the whole thing woke up. But anyways, let me go ahead and finish it. Our players included David Gasaway, David Gaskin, Fred Carter, and Timothy Hart, with myself as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron of our show, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, subscribe, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest postings. And be sure to leave us some comments. We love hearing from you. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.